giving feedback is super hard because you don't know. That's another reason people don't want to go first, because they don't know how the other person is going to react. If I don't know how you're going to react, why would I want to go first?
When someone goes vulnerable, you are the one taking the risk because they might use that against you, and that's just the truth. However, if you don't, you're going to basically grow apart from people that you might really value.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1947, yes, someone has to go first. I was on a podcast recently, and we were talking about communication, and we were talking about vulnerability. And I don't know what the question was, but it was something along the lines of, why is it so hard? And I said, because at the end of the day, somebody has to go first. It's not just going to happen by accident, most likely. Somebody intentionally has to say, I'm going to put myself out on a limb here, and things could go horribly wrong. So I had a conversation with someone, a family member recently that I care about deeply, and they messaged me and said, hey, they messaged me and said, I know we're not going to see you for Christmas, and there was some other stuff. And I could tell by the tone of the text message that it was like there was some sass being thrown my way. Mm. Yeah, there was some sass being thrown. And it was surprising to me. I was like,
what a perfect word for it. A little
sass. Sass, yeah. Yeah. Tara and I say that a lot. Like sometimes if she's grumpy, she'll be sassy, or if I'm grumpy, I'm a little sassy.
Yep. Some
sass in this household.
Sass, a.k.a. I'm feeling hurt, but don't want to vulnerably share that.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot kind of like a backhanded. Well, I know we're not gonna see you, so when should I send this? Like, You could have just said, when should I send this? That would have, then maybe things would be different. But I messaged this person back and I said, I was under the assumption that you didn't care if I came or not. And they said, well, I didn't want to guilt you, one, and I didn't really want you to know how hurt I was. And then immediately, my guard is down, and I don't want to have any ego. I don't want to hurt this person anymore. So I literally said, number one, I'm so grateful you told me, even though it sucks. This was on Christmas Day. Towards the end of the day, I was like, shit, okay. But number one, I'm super grateful you told me. Number two, I had no idea, and I never would have known unless you told me. And of course, some of this is on me. I probably could have done better with context clues and all that. And then number three, now that I know the truth, I can behave in a more aligned way. But that required... If I choose. Yeah, if it's... Well... My point stands, because now that I know, I can operate in a more aligned way. Whether that means I go see you more or not, at least it's aligned based on awareness.
Right.
I'm super grateful that person told me. And I'm super grateful that person was willing to go first, because if not, I would have been operating under that assumption for as long as humanly possible. Until they told me, or until I somehow figured it out. I just don't think I probably would have.
Why do you think people are so reluctant to share when they're hurt?
I think one reason is because they don't want to hurt the other person. If I'm hurt, and then I share with you that I'm hurt because of something that maybe you represent, maybe you'll get hurt, and that's not what I want to accomplish. I don't want to share my hurt to hurt someone else. I want to share my hurt because I'm hoping me sharing my hurt will eliminate some of it. But I think that's one piece. And then I think the other piece is...
That's a very positive way to frame it. I think some people are just protecting their own identity or their perception or their ego, because it seems weak. I think one of the things that came up for me when I asked that question is sometimes it can feel like you're weak if you're hurt. And then the other piece is, I think this is one of the reasons it might be the case. If I share that I'm hurt now the other person knows that they can hurt me. Now I'm in a vulnerable position to where they have some sort of power over me.
Yeah.
I think that's the real, I've tried to realize that most people are unkind only out of self-preservation.
But that's based on your experience, though. That's not even a conscious thought for me. For me, sharing something vulnerable with someone close to me, I don't even have the thought of they could use this against me. I don't even think about that.
But that's rare. That's super rare. That's not normal.
I don't know. I have good people in my life. I've always had good... If you're a shithead, you don't get to stay in my life. Like, what are we doing here? Just going to, like, allow you to treat me poorly?
People do that all the time. I did
Get
that for 30 years,
Get
son.
the fuck out.
I did that for 30 years.
Well, I know, but I remember I always told you, like, hey, man, your friends, like, kind of suck.
Yeah,
most of
great.
Most of them are... You're, like, a good dude. Like, why are you spending time with these people? Like, you're a great man with a heart of gold, and these... What are we doing? But again, your past is different than mine. I'm afraid of being left behind. I have to get rid of the... We were talking about this on the previous episode. I'm throwing all sorts of shit overboard. Sometimes the stuff I need. It's like, shit, I really could have used that. You're like diving into the water to bring things onto the boat.
Like new anchors.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, is our anchor big enough and strong enough? That one looks good. I'm going to go get that and drag that on.
Yeah.
You know? But I think...
I'm grabbing new dumpsters to drag up the mountain.
Unfortunately, at times. But I think we're all...
I was in the past.
We're all guilty of leaning... We're all guilty of continuing the momentum of the trigger. And that just wasn't one for me. So it's obviously... It's just a little bit different.
You know how we'll sometimes do episodes where it's
I don't
obvious
get it.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, this is one where I don't get it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's like, oh, you can't teach this at all.
I can tell stories. Maybe lessons will come of that.
Is there anyone in your life who you know has people in their life that are just dragging them down?
Yeah, most people.
Okay,
most people.
Why do you think that might be, Kev?
Because I think because most people would rather have... They don't want to be lonely. How many episodes have we done about going through Lonely Land? Going through Lonely Land sucks. And honestly, I don't know what sucks worse, going through Lonely Land or having people that pull you down. I don't know.
I would say I've done both.
Yeah.
Having people that pull you down is worse. It's better in the moment, but worse long term.
And I think that's why it doesn't happen, because almost everything... It takes an extreme amount of courage to leave a misaligned relationship. And that is hard as... I'll be very honest about this. Some of the relationships that I no longer have, I'm afraid to see these people in real life because of how supremely awkward it would be. I'm not afraid of they're going to say anything mean or anything. Maybe I am. I don't know. I don't really like conflict. But I'm terrified of that. I'm terrified of being somewhere and running into someone from my past who does not like me because I, quote unquote, grew in a different direction than them. I don't want to see them. Not that I don't care for them, not that I don't love them, but I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous.
I'm not. I mean, I am too. So I'm not. I'm just curious as to.
I don't want to hurt him. I already hurt him once. I don't want to hurt him again.
So even your answer, and again, this is a bigger conversation, but your answer is, I think one of the reasons people don't share that they're hurt, to go back to the vulnerability piece of you have to be the first one. Someone has to go first. That was the
Someone
point.
has to go first, yeah.
Someone has to go first with vulnerability.
Real quick, just so I make sure I get this in so I don't forget. If you're listening to this podcast, it's most likely going to be you. Because you're going to be the person...
Yeah.
The reason I'm super proud of the person who messaged me and explained how they were feeling is my personal development set point is much higher than theirs. I was unaware that they were feeling this way.
Can you explain personal development set point?
The amount of work someone has done on themselves to raise their awareness, to evolve, to get rid of their limiting beliefs, to break their negative patterns, books read, coaching calls consumed, or
Leather-bound books.
leather-bound books. Yeah, just how hard have you have you worked on yourself? I was very
Accolades for my background.
I was very proud of this person for doing that, and my job was to make that person, number one, feel safe, number two, feel appreciated, and let them know I'm grateful for what they did. There's not going to be any shame, and I'm not going to guilt you for unintentionally guilting me, because I know that's not why you did it. But again, I also understand it's not the case for everybody.
Well, I want to share this with everyone. I've come to understand a couple things over the years. Because when you coach so many people, you get so many different frames of reference, and it's almost like I have so much more data than I used to, because I have the front of the scenes and the behind the scenes of so many different individuals from different countries, from different backgrounds, from different cultures, with different family dynamics. Some people don't have a dad, some people don't have a mom, some people have both, some people have divorced, some people have, and you just learn through the accumulation of these coaching sessions of behind the scenes plus seeing their social media, you just learn so much. And one of the things that's become very clear is that when people hurt each other, the majority of the time, it's due to a self-preservation of not wanting to appear a certain way. So if you don't want to appear weak and you don't want to admit that this other person hurt you, because then that means you're afraid that they'll know that they have power to hurt you, and then they might actually use that against you, which is very much a thing, Kev. You might not do that, but that's what humans sometimes do. It's almost like, so it's referred to as the psychological immune system. Instead of looking inward and going, okay, what is the truth that this person is sharing? I'm hurt because of XYZ. Okay. Because I'm fearful that I'm inadequate in some way. If I share that, now I liken it to an animal in the animal kingdom that is injured. It's like if there's a group of horses and there's a lion around, and one of the horses, I know, bear with me, I don't know, maybe zebras? Yeah.
I think
zebras.
that's more aligned, yeah.
Yeah, striped horses. All I can think of is the gum, man. They did good. What kind of gum was that with the zebras? Remember back in like middle school, zebra gum?
It was so bad that I don't remember the name of it. But the branding was really good.
Yeah, branding was on point.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So zebras, bear with me, in a field, lions waiting. One of the zebras is injured. If that zebra shows that it's injured, it's going to get eaten. That's kind of what our psychological immune system is doing. If I show the group that I'm actually less than they think, I'm the weak one who might get attacked or ostracized or whatever. And by the way, same deal for if I'm the lion. No one wants to hang out with a lion. He might get eaten. So if I'm too much, too tall, too jacked, whatever it is, too smart, you name it, it also is a threat. Anything that is like outside the norm of any group is like a threat, sort of. And for people that have low personal development set point, to your point, they aren't really good at working through their emotions, and they don't really know what their deepest insecurities are. I certainly didn't in the past. So what happens is I'll poke someone's insecurity unintentionally, and then there's this blowout, and it's like, whoa, that isn't, no. You're blowing this way out of proportion. That isn't what I meant. And then I go vulnerable, and then they go vulnerable, and then we reconnect. That's been working tremendously well. But I do think the reason, I have one client in particular, you know who you are, who's sharing with me all of the true stuff that she basically says this. She said, Alan, no one's going to share this with you, but this is actually what a lot of people are thinking, and I'm embarrassed and scared to share it. And then she'll share it, and it's like, oh, I knew that that's what you thought, but I couldn't prove it because I never had anyone actually say it out loud, right? We all have the inner stuff that we're thinking, like, And some people aren't looking at that because it's subconscious and unconscious. But ultimately, when someone goes vulnerable, you are the one taking the risk because they might use that against you, and that's just the truth. However, if you don't, you're going to basically grow apart from people that you might really value.
This is not related at all to what we're talking about, but I was talking to a lot of people about group coaching. Shout out to Group 17. Group 17 starts tomorrow. And I was going through my old Facebook messages. In 2007, again, this is not related to what we're saying at all. I was just like, what an interesting life things used to be. Some dude messaged me, November 8th, 2007. He said, listen up, you're a F-word homophobic slur, mother effer, and if I catch you around, I'm going to knock your short, cocky ass straight to the floor, you bitch. That was a message I got on Facebook.
Wait. Seriously?
I swear to you. I would show it if there were. It's
in 2007,
not very nice.
just for context, this is back when Facebook was only for college students and or like right after that.
I'm pretty sure I got Facebook. This is probably like the first Facebook message I ever got, maybe. So yeah. And I said, and when the fight gets to the ground, you'll learn some jiu-jitsu, brother. Like, okay, let's do it.
You said that?
Yeah. And then he said, are you related to a police officer? And are you seriously trained to fight jiu-jitsu style? That's cool shit, dude.
Are you kidding me?
No.
No way.
And then I said, no, I'm not related to a cop, and yeah, I train martial arts. And he never responded. I was just looking at that today. I was like, what an interesting study of humans.
Yeah.
I essentially was like, all right, cool, man. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you.
And
I was terrified. I didn't even know who this person was. It's like, I'm going to get my ass kicked by a stranger. So I think there's two things. One, giving feedback is super hard because you don't know. That's another reason people don't want to give. People don't want to go first because they don't know how the other person is gonna react. If I don't know how you're gonna react, why would I want to go first, sir?
Have you ever seen my mouth do that?
I know.
It means I'm trying to stop myself from laughing.
Anytime you start laughing, you take a drink because you're trying to. But I think about that too.
I'm trying not to laugh at you.
No, you
sometimes I can laugh with you.
No, you can laugh.
But you're
at
not
me.
laughing.
It's all good. It's all good.
As long as it's kind.
You and I are speakers. When we flub, we laugh at each other. It is what it is. It's all good.
But again, if you were someone who was insecure about that, that would be not good.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
That's not good. But I laugh because I know you're cool with it, and I think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. I mean, that one especially was hilarious. I couldn't even. Sometimes I'll just power through. I couldn't power through that one. But think of that. When you give someone feedback, if you don't know how they're going to react, it might be a whole thing. I might go to Alan and say, hey, I might compose the best message ever. I like to send audios, but when it comes to challenging stuff, maybe I want to write it out as opposed to just freestyling it. But let's say I sent Alan an audio and said, hey, Alan, I'm sick, by the way. That's why I have a lot of brain fog. I don't know what's going on. Hey, Alan, the way that you did this made me feel a certain way. I love you and I appreciate you and I'm grateful for all you, blah, 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 blah. I lace out a really nice message. And then Alan attacks me. I'm going to regret sending that message, number one. Number two, I'm going to beat Alan's ass. And then number three, I now have an understanding that when I give feedback, I get feedback back. And that's why it's so important when somebody does give you feedback to do the right thing, to own the piece that you should. I think okay, this is a bold statement, maybe controversial take. One of the best things you can do in your relationships is give people the understanding that you are safe. Give the right people the understanding that you are safe to give feedback to because you're emotionally secure and you're emotionally centered and you don't fly off the handle when people give you feedback, even if the feedback isn't accurate. I think that's what maturity is. Somebody might reach out and say something that's way out of left field and not accurate at all. Again, I'm not going to use that Facebook message as an example, but that was a very calm response to a very hateful message.
Yeah, that was wildly inappropriate.
I didn't ego up almost. It was like, okay, man. I mean, I don't know who you are or how you found or who you think I am. I have no idea where you even came from. If you do find my short ass and you put me on the ground, I'm going to choke you unconscious. As long as you're comfortable with that, I know more about this than you do, good sir. But I didn't swear back. It was very calm. Now he knows. I'm a ninja, and you're not.
Where to go with this? I know we got to jump soon.
5 minutes, yeah, just FYI.
Okay. I was on a podcast earlier, and it was about technology. And it was specifically about technology in the self-improvement space and where I think it's going. Yeah, I know. It was awesome.
It's right in your wheelhouse.
It was cool.
I wonder why they didn't message me.
It was like old Alan plus new Alan for future of generations.
For future of generations.
Yeah, it was cool.
Nice.
But anyways, so I talked about how self-improvement is unfortunately not as ubiquitous, as common as I would like, and I wasn't as into self-improvement in the past either. And I think one of the reasons why is because the more I self-reflected, the more pain I would feel. If I reflected on my past, if I reflected on my own poor choices, if I reflected on my own insecurities, if I reflected, it was painful, it was challenging, particularly my past. So I think what happens is, because Kev said this, he said this before, and I keep saying it because it's really powerful, and I'm working on it. He said, people love it when you tell them about them. They don't.
And I wasn't serious.
Sarcastic.
Just want to make sure.
People hate it when you tell them about them.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
That's what a coach kind of can do.
Yeah.
Or you can just ask questions and let them tell them about them, which is probably better. But the point is I'm a very direct coach. Sign up here. But anyways, why is that? Because people don't want to look at all the places that they're sucking. Here's the fucking problem with that. If you don't look at where you're sucking, you don't get any better. It's impossible to get better without feedback. When you and I see each other on camera all the time, that's one of the reasons we're in better shape now, because we saw ourselves on camera and we're like, dude, the camera is feedback. Every one of these episodes is a little bit of feedback of like, oh, am I insecure? Am I not as aware as I thought? Am I actually kind of drifting around? Am I? And one of the hardest parts about life is that people are so eager to achieve goals externally, but yet don't necessarily want to look at. So for example, I want to be in better shape. Okay, great. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is I'm actually not in that great a shape, and I have to accept that. Stage 3 is, okay, how am I going to get in better shape? Stage 4 is implement. And so to bring this all the way back, the vulnerable piece, if you are focused on keeping perception socially, it's going to be very hard for you to improve your life and your relationships as much as you could. I would much rather take ownership with Emilia and say, hey, listen, I've been really not present with you and the pets lately, been filling group coaching, blah, 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 and then just I'll do better. And every quarter, I try to do better and better and better, and I've gotten better. I'll be more proactive. But first, in order for me to get more proactive, I first have to say, wow, I am wildly reactive. I'm kind of sucking as a dad right now, like as a pet dad and as a partner. And that acceptance is the beginning of progress. However, if Emilia was unkind to me, yeah, you do kind of suck. That would be the worst idea ever, right? And so if you have anyone in your life who does that, kicks you while you're down, that is stopping you from so much progress. And I try really hard to encourage vulnerability. And then when I see vulnerability and honesty, then it's like, okay, cool, awesome. I'd much rather you just own it, and then we can just do better. Great.
The hard part, too, is most of the people who kick you when you're down are the ones who can't take a punch, meaning you can't give them any feedback. They always have to have the upper hand, unfortunately. Yeah, be very careful. If you, again, easier said than done, Kev. I know. I have a weird relationship with relationships. I know. But for my own self-preservation, I had to find a way to get around people who would elevate me, not hold me back, because I didn't think I was going to make it.
Very last thing. I know we got to jump. what for you, what would you tell the listeners or viewers? What is the one type of person to watch out for? Because for me, it would be bullies. People who kick you when you're down, who are trying to feel bigger.
People who only care about your success from the lens of how it helps them. If there's anybody out there that wants you to win and doesn't care if they end up seeing less of you because of it, that's a good person.
Yeah.
That's a very selfless person. And I think that's very, very rare. So the opposite of that, where, well, I don't want you to get too successful because then you leave me behind. I understand. Yeah, same. I didn't want that either. But that's why I work as hard as I do to stay aligned with Alan. Right? I don't want to be left behind. It's good motivation. All right. Next Level Nation, as always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay focused. Next Level Nation.